Welcome. Thank you for joining me today on UDTV. This is our final episode of 2021, and I'm really grateful for this year and all that it has provided. I've had the great opportunity to launch Uncommon Diabetic Solutions and UDTV this year. It has definitely been a year of personal growth. I've learned with you from many amazing thought leaders and uncommon diabetics. And I am grateful to have worked with my friend Bob Embry to co-create the UD Foundation's programs, and my wife Susan. We have both supported, basically they've supported me in the process of developing and delivering our programs to our community. It definitely has been an adventure which has impacted me. And I don't believe there's a person I know that has not felt some form of impact or change this year. The stresses in life impact us all. How has the stress impacted you? Has it impacted how you think and feel? Stress can impact us both negatively and positively. And from my experience, I've come to believe that it actually helps us grow. It begs me to think and ask if this is the best way, or is there something I can change to make it better? How has this past year impacted you and your mindset? How is your energy and your health? Have you experienced the COVID weight gain? Are you feeling anxious or uncertain about the future? Do you find that you're feeling disconnected or just angry that your life is not what you want? Could how you are thinking, or in other words, your mindset, be creating unnecessary stress and impacting your life and health? Well, today I'm really excited to have our special guest, Corey Dion Lewis. We're going to discuss the power of mindfulness. Yeah, the power of our mindset. Have you ever asked, what is mindfulness and how it can help with my diabetes? Or is there a relationship even between my stress and my diabetes and my thinking? Well, today we'll even do some mindful exercises. So Corey, Bob, and I want you to remember the content we will discuss today is provided for information and education purposes only. It's not intended as a substitute for medical, psychological, or any other professional advice. So remember to check with your doctor and healthcare professional before you make any changes to your routines. Okay, let's get started. Our guest host today is Corey Dion Lewis. He's a clinical health coach at Broadlawn Medical Center in Des Moines, Iowa. Corey works one-on-one with his patients to help them improve their health by following his guidance. He's the founder of the Healthy Project, a multimedia company that provides healthcare access and information to the people. Thanks, Corey, for joining us to discuss how we can create that uncommon mindset. How are you today, Corey?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, today is definitely an amazing day here where I am in Langley in Vancouver, Canada. You got 6 inches of snow on the ground. How are you guys doing in Iowa?
You know, it's just cold right now. It's coming. The snow is coming. You know what I mean? It was. We had a couple of warm days, surprisingly for this time of year. But you know, the time is now. The snow it's on its way.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Bob, you're joining us from North Vancouver today, and what's it like over there?
Yeah, it's -7. -7. Went out and warmed up the cars for 20 minutes to make sure that we want to get in and drive them today. They're all ready to go, so we're good to go.
Right on. Well, again, thank you both for joining me here on our finale of 2021. It's been a definite adventure. I'm so stoked about our chat today with you, Corey, to learn from you and the Healthy Project and the way that you've done things. I'm so impressed with. But we're talking about our mindset, our intention. So can you sort of give me your explanation of what mindfulness is and how it can help me and all of us diabetics?
Right. So, let's start with the actual definition of mindfulness. So I got this definition from mindful.org. Right. And this is what I use when I'm speaking with patients, just so we're all on the same page. And it's, mindfulness is a basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. Now, we all know 2020, 2021 we all need a little bit of mindfulness, going on with not trying to react to what's going on in the world. But to answer your question of how it can help diabetics, what I like to say is, when you're not mindful of what you're doing, and we have a lot of distractions, we mindlessly eat, we mindlessly scroll through social media, and as we're doing these things, if you're stressed out and you're thinking about all these stressors, well, what does that do to your body, right? What does stress do to your body? Your blood pressure goes up. What happens when your blood pressure goes up? Your blood sugar can go up, and these things are happening in your body. So being mindful isn't some cute word we say as health coaches or health professionals to make you feel better. There's some truth to it, and there's some power to that word as well.
Very powerful, very, very powerful. I love the way that you said that. I use that website as well. It's great. One thing that you hit me is it's how we're all connected, right? Our head, our heart, which leads ultimately to what we do with our hands. And that is everything, right? So how we feel is directly the first result of what we're thinking about a moment, a circumstance, the food that we eat, whether I want to or don't want to work out, whether I'm stressed out about the economics of the world changing due to the big COVID, whatever the world is, we're full contact in this game called life. So
right.
How do you think that is going to translate? Because I could go into the science of stress and the systems and the processes of the body. But you said something really important. The mindfulness, that thought triggers those systems.
Right.
So
what's the quote that, what you say about yourself, whatever you say about yourself, you're right. Right. So if you're thinking negatively, you're going to feel that. Right. It like you said, it starts in your mindset. It starts with your mind. If you feel this is a good example. I have 2 young children. Son who, if he's by himself for too long, he's going to break something, right? But there was a time where if he fell, he would immediately look at me, and how I responded was how he would respond. So if I go, "Oh, you okay?" He's going to immediately break down, cry. But if I'm just looking at him and say, "Hey, just get up, you're all right," he's magically all right. I did nothing different besides tell him how he should think, right? So if you're saying to yourself, "Oh, I woke up this morning and my blood sugar was 200," and that brings you down, and now you're starting your day off with that mindset of, "I can't control my diabetes, I can't do this, I can't do that." Now you're not going to exercise, you're not going to do all the things that can take you out of that slump. So when you're being mindful or thinking of your mindset, you got to think as positively as you can, because it can be life or death, especially for somebody who's struggling with controlling their diabetes.
Yeah, for sure. Bob,
I love those comments, Corey. Uh, you're so clean and articulate on this subject. What comes to my mind is I'm wondering where you learn this stuff. Like, you're a certain age now, you're married, you got kids, but you probably weren't always like this. Was there something in your life that happened to you, or some mentor that you had? Like, where did you learn this stuff?
I grew up where, and I say this a lot, I grew up where chronic disease was the norm. Right. My grandmother was type 2 diabetic, high blood pressure, you name it, she had it. And growing up as a child, knowing that she had these conditions, but it was just normal for her to take medication or insulin. It was just normal. You just kind of, it was just there. You just kind of saw it. It was no big deal.
Yeah.
Right. And then as you get older and you start seeing, your family dying in front of you, and you're like, well, maybe this is a bigger deal than I was taught to think it was. Right. When your grandmother takes their blood sugar and it's not great, and they go, oh, I just got to take a little extra insulin. Well, as a kid, you're like, oh, okay, then they're okay. Well, that's not good. You know what I mean? Like, as you get older, so a lot of it was life experience, growing up and seeing that. And as you get older, I was, thankful that I understood that the way that I grew up eating and living was not healthy. But also with working with patients in the hospital, and you see it, and you know it took a lot of practice and learning from the patients, actually them telling me what they're going through and what they're doing. And over the years and years, 12 years of working as a health coach, you hopefully I was able to pick up on some of those things so I can help other people.
I think the thinking that you just said there right away, and you spoke to in your previous comment about the power of proximity and the power of I am.
Yeah.
Those are two really critical things. One, with your child, you spoke about how they look to you for how and learn how to respond in this moment.
Yes.
And that then would go quite often, I would assume you probably went, you're okay. And then in that they go, I am okay.
I am.
And then up they get and away they go, right?
Right.
Well, all three of us have amazing, unique stories, journeys, but the truth about life, it's full contact. I appreciate you sharing the story about your mom, right? Because she's a warrior, because she was able to actually say, I am, and I'm going to deal with this in a normal way. It doesn't need to be a panic. It doesn't need to be a crisis. I am capable of managing this circumstance. That's a mindset. That's
Absolutely.
a shift of I can, I will, and I must, versus I can't, I won't, and I didn't, right? So therefore,
Absolutely.
we end up in this, I'm going to call it the yin and the yang of choice, right? Each day and every moment. How are we going to respond to it? So how does this relationship, right, that we each have with stress, with our beliefs, is really what drives the I am game, right? How does that affect, in your experience as a health coach, people living with diabetes and just all of us as humans?
Right. I think the less we are mindful of not only what's going on in our body, but in our life. I work with a lot of patients that lack resources. So, if they don't have a strong mindset, it's a wrap. Like they're not going to do much. So if we're thinking about that relationship of, between stress, diabetes, and mindfulness, it all the big mama, I would say, is mindfulness. That's the mob boss. That is there. Because if you're not mindful, like I said, of your body and what's going on around you, what happens? We can stress out about the littlest things, right? Now we're stressed out, and we're not aware what's going on in our body, so we don't even know how to fix it, or what the solution is. So we're stressed out even more. Then what do? We stress eat. We stress insert whatever you do that's not a great thing for yourself, right? You binge on whatever's next, because what are we saying to ourselves? Oh, my blood sugar was 200, or I can't control it anyway, so I'm just going to have this bag of chips or this candy or this soda. Whatever. And what does that do? That makes our diabetes even worse. Like, it makes the problem even worse.
Yeah.
And then it's just this vicious cycle, because what happens? Your blood sugar's high. You're not aware of your body or your mind or your environment. So now you're stressed again. The next day you check your blood sugar, or whatever the case is, still high. So now you're stressed. Then you don't care. Then you feel guilty. And then you say, I'm going to change tomorrow. Your blood sugar's high, or not as good as you think it should be. Then you're stressy, or then it's just this vicious circle. And it can only stop when you say, not only when you say, I'm going to change, I'm not going to do that tomorrow, but also take action on that. So
Love it.
there's two parts of mindfulness, right? You could be mindful of and ask yourself, okay, what am I eating today? How am I feeling? What's going on? You're mindful, but you also have to act on those answers, right? So if you say to yourself, okay, I didn't eat great yesterday because of my stress. I'm going to have a better lunch today. Well, you got to have that better lunch. You just can't say you're going to do it. You got to actually do it. Right. So now we're taking steps. Okay. So what do I have to do to make sure my lunch is healthy? Well, maybe I should pack my lunch. Okay. Then you start. So it's a process. And doing that during that process, this is why I like to tell people mindfulness is like the alphabet from A to Z, right? We start at A. We're trying to get to Z of mindfulness. But getting to Z, the mindfulness journey starts with B, C, D, F, and all the way through. You're not going to just jump your way to Z, right? So once you prepare your lunch, you eat your lunch, now you're feeling better. Now you're mindful of the fact of that, okay, I can do this. I did it. I feel better. And now you're just putting them all in place until you get to that place to where you're feeling a lot better and you're seeing those improvements.
Oh, powerful, eh, Bob?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that shift, right? I'm just fascinated by the shift. I was before Christmas, I was shopping, so I had this short interaction with this young lady who was behind a counter, and she was like upbeat, positive, just so cheery, like unusually cheery, and unusually helpful. And I said, and I said, um, "What's going on?" And she said, "Pardon me." And I said, Why are you so happy? Why are you so cheery?" And she looked at me and she says, "I just am." And I said, "No, no, no, there's something behind this. Like, you are unusually happy. You are unusually outgoing. You are unusually helpful. I work with a lot of people, and what you're doing right now is not normal." And she looked at me and she had this huge smile and she said, "About 2 weeks ago, I realized how negative I was, what I've been watching, what I've been listening to, who I was hanging around with. And I decided to change." And, and I said, "Thank you for sharing that," because we didn't have a lot of time, right? But I
Right.
walked away from that thinking, is it that simple? And that's my question to you two gents. Is it that simple? It's just to realize where you've been, where you are, and can you just flip a switch? What's going on with that?
I would my immediate response is I do believe it can be that simple,
Yeah.
but is not going to happen overnight because it's going to take time to get rid of those relationships. It's going like I tell people all the time, hey man, you didn't these eating habits or this mindset, it took years to creep into you and develop. It's going to take a long time to change that behavior. Is not now for those if it can't happen overnight, God bless you. But it takes time to because we slip back. You take 2 steps forward. You may take a half a step, 2 steps back sometimes,
Yeah.
right? So right. So it takes time. But for me, this is kind of my little funny daydream I do to myself to kind of help me get back on track because I like to be that woman you're talking about, upbeat, smiling, seeing the positive. Doesn't happen all the time, but I have a little daydream where I think to myself, what if I wake up and this old lady's looking at me and she goes, "Welcome to heaven. Donuts are in the corner. Orientation starts in 15 minutes." So it's like, oh my God, I spent my whole day depressed, sad, and mad at the world, and now I'm dead and I can't change it. So whenever I'm called to heaven's orientation, I want to make sure I've done everything I could to be a better person and to have a better day. So that's the way I do it. And anybody else they can do their own thing, but that's just how I try to keep my mindset positive.
Well, I love that. I would summarize what you just said with a little saying that I'm big on acronyms, ex-policeman and sayings, but the best one I've heard that sums that up is that Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And right now, I get to choose whether I'm going to be negative Nelly or I'm going to shift. And we spoke about this last week, actually, on UDTV, and that is an attitude of gratitude. You can't be fearful if you're being grateful. You can't be angry if you're grateful. The awareness that you just spoke about, Corey, is powerful, because that's the penny dropping. That's that awareness where all change begins. And for me, it was a dynamic aspect of life that really transformed my life to make me realize that I'm accountable. It's that simple. Take a page and I can draw it right across the line. I have this on my wall, actually, and I have the choice. Above the line is accountability. Below the line is victimhood. Now, if I go above the line, I say, it is what it is. I fell off the railways. I had a horrible blood sugar today. I chose to eat ice cream. And then on top of it, I forgot to do the bolus because I'm a type 1 diabetic. So I didn't just compound it. I really messed it up. Because we all scream for ice cream, right? So,
Right.
The bad one for me is if you forget to take the insulin, it's like, woohoo, welcome to the top of the roller coaster. Here we go, right? But the point is that I can still change. I don't have to go and have this fear. I don't need this anger. I don't need to have this frustration. I just have to say, it is now. Treat myself with a little bit of love and gentleness and go, what do I need to do? I need to adjust my insulin. Let's test. What am I really at? Then do the bolus to adjust for it. And then realize, okay, I can help my insulin along. I'm actually going to go drop and give myself 10 push-ups. Or I'm going to go for a walk around the block, take the dog for a walk, whatever it might be, move my body to help get the machine working properly to help myself. Those are choices that we make in a moment. And that's a mindset shift. And I love what you said. Let's create triggers, that dream. I have this dream of this perfect life. I'm going to have a perfect level. It's up and down. They're just numbers, right?
Yeah.
What do you think on that?
I love what you said when it's your choice, right? We can choose to have a good day after we've gotten some bad news, and we can choose to have a bad day.
Yeah.
Right. It's that simple. Now, I know there are things that are in between there that make it easier or harder to go one way or the other, but it's still a choice. Right. And you can, but what I also do with people that I see, even myself, and what you kind of explained there was after something goes wrong and you make your choice, you need to go through the things you can do to make that better. Right. Like, okay, I gotta go on a walk. I forgot to do this, that Rocky Road ice cream hit me bad the next day.
That too,
Right. Right. That happened 24 hours ago. This is a new day. This is what I can do. Boom. It's in the past. I can't do anything about it. You can't go back in time and say, stop it, and smack that spoon out of your hand. Right. It's already done. Make the choice, make that change, and figure out what you have to do to move on. And you just move on.
Yeah. There's some great research out, maybe 10 years old now, on a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So the growth mindset, you're open to opportunity, you're open to ideas, you're open to different points of view. With a fixed mindset, you're more fixed in your thoughts. It's like, I'm this way, I'm not that way. I can do this, I can't do that. And so we're talking right now, and I'm thinking about myself, and I'm thinking about some of the people that I know, and how they're growth mindset oriented in some ways, but they're very fixed in other ways. In other words, a young lady that I was talking about that had that epiphany that she was too negative. I'm going to be more positive. I'm going to be more upbeat. I'm not going to watch so much news or whatever decision she made. Right. But there's so many different layers to a human being. So I think that some people have challenges. And this is my question to you two guys, is some people have challenges. Okay, I'll be more upbeat, I'll be more positive, but I still weigh 40 pounds too much, and that's the way I am. Okay, I'm going to start eating better, but I'm not an athlete. I'm not going to exercise. So you can be open and have a growth mindset in some ways, but in some really major ways, you're still quite fixed. What do you think about that? And helping people have these epiphanies that, I am able in all areas, perhaps.
Right. And there's a research study that and I can send it to you guys so you can see it. You can see it. And it studied all of the kind of the major diets out there. So it studied the DASH eating plan, Mind, keto, low carb, all these different Weight Watchers eating plans and programs.
All 7,000 of them.
All of them. And they compared one group did those, and another group did those same programs, but with counseling. It wasn't a health coach, but some kind of counselor. And what they noticed was the people that just had the diet, there was no significant amount of weight loss compared to the group who had the help. But those who had the help lost a significant amount of weight loss. And why I say that is, when you're trying to make a change in your mindset, it's hard to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to have somebody who's either wants to change their mindset the same way you do, and you guys can be accountability partners and work that together, or you got to get around a group of people who are where you want to be, because you're not going to change your mindset hanging around the same people or in the same environment. You got to get yourself out of that environment.
I love it. It sounds like we're, brothers from another mother. That's the truth. Because I tell you, the power of proximity on our mindset. We've talked a lot about it, Bob. The 7 portals of proximity. Eyes, what I call them. 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, mouth. It all adds up to input and how we experience the world, right? And we need to be aware, right, that it's our choice. If we want to succeed or to become anything, we actually have to be it before we become it. That's the root of the word of becoming. So how do I do that? I get around people like yourself, Corey. I get around Bob. I get around people that are successful at the process of improvising, adapting, and overcoming in life to get the results. And if you don't know where you're going, any road's going to get you there.
Yeah.
So that moment of awareness where I need to change, you got to say, I'm going there. Okay. Who's already there? Yeah. Right. And then I need to go and hook onto the coattails of people that are where I want to be, because they're doing those routines. They know the results they've gotten the routines for it. And as we move forward, that's what drives those results, those routines. But I really wanted to kind of segue us into this action-oriented thing you said, our mindset. You talked about dreaming. The truth is, our reality equals the dreams we act upon. It can be a nightmare, or it can be an amazing nirvana. It's our choice. Again, it's always back to choice. In that moment, what am I choosing? Who am I putting around myself? What am I putting in myself?
Yep.
Whether it be knowledge, whether it be the news, Bob, as you spoke about, the food, the people at the gym, it doesn't matter. You hit something I'm so passionate, as you can tell, about community. Nobody is self-made. And I am very cautious about being around people that start to claim to be self-made, because that's pride at the end of the day. And I know. Now I can't learn, because if there's no ability to grow if I know. So what do you think about that in that whole attitude, and how do we use that mindset to change not just our mind itself, but the beliefs and the meanings we put on things that change our feelings, which drives our motion?
Right. So first thing I want to say is health is a community effort.
Yes.
Right. Health is a community. That's something I've been saying lately. Is health is a community effort. It takes a community to improve our health, and getting around the right people to make that happen. But to answer your question, so I want to tell a little story. So hopefully this makes sense. So I don't know if you guys are big boxing fans. Um, I call myself a fair weather boxing fan because I love boxing. But if you told me, hey, what do you think about that new O'Malley kid? I'd be like, I don't know who that is. But but I do love the sport of boxing. But there is one boxer that I've been researching lately by the name of George Foreman, right? Those of you who don't know, he doesn't just make grills. He was quite the boxer in his day, right?
He
He'll,
was.
he'll knock you out and then make you a grilled chicken sandwich at the same time, right? But I was doing some research and I saw a picture of him later in his career, of him in his corner with his foot on the stool, so it was in between rounds. And someone had asked him, why don't you sit during those rounds, like in between rounds? And in the article read that he doesn't sit for a psychological advantage. So if you can just imagine being in the ring with George Foreman, you're going around with him, he is kicking your butt, and the round is over, you sit, you're tired, and you look over and he's just standing staring at you, ready to kill you. That's right.
Love it.
And I'm like, wow, that is powerful. Then I read another article and someone had asked George Foreman about that same thing. Hey, I heard that you did this for a psychological advantage. And he goes, no, I didn't. I did it because I knew if I sat down, I wasn't getting back up. Right. And I was like, oh, that kind of kills my speech. But it really doesn't. As I started to think about it, and we're thinking about mindset, you can't grow your mindset without adversity, right?
Yes.
So imagine yourself as George Foreman, and your adversity is across the ring from you, and you're going rounds with your diabetes, with your mindset, with COVID-19 and being isolated and doing everything through Zoom, and you're struggling, right? I want you to imagine you're in that ring with whatever that adversity is. And instead of sitting down, you put your foot on that stool for either a psychological advantage, a mindset advantage of, I'm not going to let that diabetes beat me. I want diabetes to be afraid of me. And the other thing is, if your foot's on that stool, because if I sit down, I'm not going to get up, that is great because you're still standing, right?
Yes.
Right? You're not giving in. If I sit down, it's over. But you made the choice that we've been talking about today. You made the choice to just sit there and you stare at that adversity. And that's where your mindset grows, is by staring at adversity and keeping a positive mindset towards it, and going back in that ring and just fighting like your life depends on it. Because depending on who's listening or what's going on, it probably does.
I really love that. I really love that story, Corey. Nicely done. I'm a big George Foreman fan. That's my era, my friend. That's my era.
Us old guys.
He was a terrific role model. Just a terrific role model. Listen, just to build on what you were saying about adversity grows your mindset, and also to build on your comment about dreams earlier, I think a lot of us need bigger dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real skill. That's a real skill to look at yourself and have some dreams about your potential. Like he's a terrific example for me. Like, I've been blessed to have Heath in my life for about 30 years, right? And he is I've seen him at his peak fighting weight, and also as a chubby, out of shape businessman. So What do
I
you?
don't remember that.
But for anybody that's listening or watching right now, I'd say to you what I say to my kids. I've got 3 kids, Corey, and this is what I've always told them, because I know that my influence on them wanes. Right, as they grow older, your influence as a parent wanes, and their peer groups become their number one people that they go to for advice, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm,
So I always said to my daughters and my son, if you're the smartest guy in your group, in your peer group, you need a new group. If you're the fittest
man.
person in your peer group, you need a new group. If you're the most adventurous person in your peer group, you need a new group. And so it goes, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm blessed to have Heath, because look at the man. He's a physical specimen. He is a hard-working
Yeah,
physical
man.
specimen. It's hard for me not to go to the gym. It's hard for me not to go on a hike, because I gotta see him every day, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I just love that concept of having bigger dreams and having people around you, that community that you mentioned, Corey, that can support you, but also inspire you.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it's so important. I think as I've gone on this journey of that with the Healthy Project and the conversation, not only the conversations I've been able to have, but the relationships I've been able to build from it, that concept of constantly leveling up your your core group of people has been so important to me, because the more people I get to know and I get to learn from, it only makes you better. Now, are there some times where you may have to get rid of some people that just aren't growing? I mean, yeah, but you know,
I love that truth. That's the truth, man. You have to fire
yeah,
some acquaintances. You have to fire some acquaintances in life. If you're
yeah,
going to actualize your potential, there's people dragging you down. There's people that are taking your energy and taking your time. You only have time in life.
yeah. And you know what? Sometimes they kind of know it too. Like, you just have to. You don't got to be malicious about it. There have been some relationships in my life where I knew from the jump I gotta get out of it. Like, this is not good for me.
Right.
And I've been blessed to be able to jump right into a group. Like, I'd be in a group of people and be like, this ain't it. This ain't it. And then right there was a group of people like, hey, we got room. And I'm like, whew, okay. And it was the right group for me to keep going forward. And it wasn't like I didn't, be cordial or be cool with people that I once was cool with, but I can say no a whole lot easier these days. Let's just say that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because being able to say no is a superpower within itself. As we get closer to our dreams, and by saying no, just kind of gets you. It's an extra little boost to get there sometimes.
I love what you both have just said here. I think it's really powerful. I kind of have a little thing that I remind myself. It's my responsibility to give myself the opportunity to grow.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that? Get back into proximity, change,
Yeah.
embrace uncertainty. Well, then I grow. How do I do that? I love what's on the wall behind you. Work
Yeah.
hard, right?
Make it happen.
And make it happen. Be accountable. Realize that it ain't going to happen if I don't get off my butt and do something. I don't care what it is. And that starts with what you were alluding to, and that's confidence. Because the potential cycle of that Bob and I have really been trying to impart to our people in the UD community is this: potential is all around your belief. That belief creates an action. That action drives a result. What's the result do? Builds or takes away confidence. That confidence builds or takes away potential. And it works both ways. You're either building it or you're taking it away. So we need to give ourselves that opportunity to grow. That means fail forward, fail fast, Keep learning. That failing isn't there's no such word as far as I'm concerned. It's a fantastic adventure in learning. It's just an acronym, FAIL, a way to learn. And that will get us an uncommon form of life. Uncommon being rare, exceptional, extraordinary, improving, not common, which is normal. And what we know in life, what we've really been talking about with this mindset is common sense is uncommon. We're allowing the negative mindsets of what goes on around us to impact us. We're taking on other people's beliefs, right? And I remember a story Tony Robbins taught me. You got this flock of geese going by. It's ideas, they're thoughts. It's up to you which one you want to grab and hold on to. You can do catch and release. You don't need to keep those thoughts, right? And that's all around what you're talking about. How do we release those things when resistance hits? The minute we set that goal, I want to lose some weight, I want to get my 10 years back, I want to be in this shape, I want to get that job, we lay out that result. As soon as it happens, resistance shows up. As soon as you launch out the dream, resistance shows up. And that's what you were also alluding to, which I found really powerful. The why. Bob, you said dream big. Our why has got to be freaking big, because the resistance has to get crushed by it. Because all of our success is always just on the other side of our fear, on the other side of the resistance. And that leads back to what you also said. Corey, I'm learning so much, I'm reparaphrasing this, is these routines, the actions that we take, making it happen on your wall. How do we make it happen is, well, what's Corey doing? What are the people I'm around doing? Like your little son, I am okay, right? What we put behind I am is our truth now, in this moment. We can change from a negative one to a positive one, from I can't to I can, I will, I must. I'm going to reach out to Corey. I'm going to ask him to come and participate, and I can learn from him. Just a simple example.
Right. And to go, geez Louise, and to go with that, when we say I am, and I love that word. I have a shirt that says I am ... so you can kind of, fill in where you want. But with the mindset, with the process of your mindset, this doesn't say work a little and make it happen. Work sometimes and make it happen. Work a couple times and make it happen. It doesn't say that. You have to work hard. But to kind of go with that I am statement, and you have to know where you are in your process, right? To be able to say I am successful, you have to know where you are in that process, right? Okay, where am I right now? Okay, and then take that first step to get there.
Beautiful. Bob, maybe how we talk about our R3 method that we've created, that we're using, and that really is about the 2 points. What you just said of where I am right now is the sum of yesterday, all of our past choices. It's just a moment, right? It's a present. It's that opportunity to learn, to grow. But we have to cast out the dream forward to that goal, that destination. Then we create that map, and the map, the step-by-step process that you just talked about, the routines that we do start right here. That visualization, that intention of putting it out, writing it down, taking action to do it, and then realizing that I'm not self-made. I am where I am today from a host, from my family to my friends to the people like yourself, Corey, that have said, you know what, I'm going to invest in Heath. Those types of things. Bob, 30 years, the poor guy has had to work with me up and down and see me go. This battle of becoming a diabetic or a person living with diabetes happens. I wasn't in control of it, but I did contribute to it, right? I wasn't one of those pre-diabetic type 2 journey. I had an autoimmune that happened. I couldn't do anything about it. I ended up waking up out of a coma and going, what happened? Right? But the truth is, the next thing is my choice.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's, that good comments, gents. Listen, there's kind of a baseline for us saying I am or I can and doing it. You have to have a certain amount of skills and confidence to be able to do that. I know there's lots of people listening to this, and their I am is I am lonely. I am isolated. I don't have friends. I'm the only diabetic I know. My health sucks.
Yeah.
I am overweight. That's their I ams. So I've been there too. And I'd like to hear your comments on this, because if you have that certain baseline, you can go ahead and take that step. You can make a call. You can join a group. You can do certain things if you have a baseline of certain skills. But sometimes we're deep in a hole, and what's the first step? Like, what do we need to do there when you're at that point where it's tough?
Right. That's a not only is it a good question, but it's real, right? That is real, flat out. There's a lot of positivity that we're talking about today, but like you said, flat out, there's somebody out there right now that they're like, I don't care about your positivity. I'm lonely.
Yeah.
Right.
So true.
It's so true. And the only thing I can really say to that is kind of positive. Right. and
That's good.
and the fact that you can acknowledge that you are lonely is a positive thing, because some people will just sit in it and be mindful that they're lonely and just not do anything. And the first step is saying it out loud. Is like, I am lonely. That's the first step. And that's powerful, because we live in a world where we go on Instagram or on Facebook, and we just see this. We see the nice backgrounds, we see the nice microphone, but you don't see all my kids' mess over here that I got to clean up. Right? you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being able to say that in today's world is powerful. Now, with that, there is some responsibility where, if you understand that, you got to take that first step in finding that community that will embrace you. And that's kind of on you at sometimes. Sometimes it kind of falls in your lap, right? Sometimes you fall into that community and it's you're able to breathe, but sometimes you got to go look for it. But the fact that you're acknowledging and you're looking for it, those are great things. And those are powerful things that you're already doing.
I got a cute Heath. I got a cute story about that, and that has to do with Corey's work hard and make it happen. I was a single guy at age 33 years old, and I was, I dated quite a bit, but I wasn't quite not that interested. I hadn't found anybody really interesting, right, for a number of years. And all of a sudden, one of my friends was said that there's this lady who's professional, attractive, and fit, right? The top three things on my list. And I said to him, hey, well, buddy, share the number. And he says, well, things aren't going so good with my girlfriend. So if things fall down there, I'm going to call this lady, right? And I said, well, that's not fair. You got a girlfriend. He says, no, I can't do that, brother. And I said, okay. So I went, this is a while ago, of course, I went to a phone book back then. I don't know, Corey, you remember what a phone book was? I knew her name, right? I knew her name. So I looked up alphabetically. There was her name in the phone book, right? And this is make it happen. This is a make it happen thing.
Yeah.
And I phoned her out of the blue. I phoned her and I left her a message on the phone and said, listen, we've been introduced by a mutual acquaintance. Would you give me a call back, please? My name is blah, blah, blah. Here's my number. And she called back the next day, and we celebrated our 27th year married.
Oh,
This
wow.
Christmas. So that's
awesome.
a make it happen story, my friend.
Oh yeah, you had to do it with a phone book. That's a lot. That's hard work.
That's hard. He got a paper cut from that too, probably.
But my point is your comment about personal responsibility. It is like,
yeah,
I'm lonely, I'm sick, my blood sugar is too high, I'm overweight. There is nobody's coming to our rescue, right? No one is going to find me my partner for life, right? No one's going to find me my wife, my mother of my child. I need to do that.
Yep.
I need to lose the weight. I need to get a better friend, make a friend. I need to. True or false, Heath?
That's all true. And I think ultimately I'm going to, I don't want to end this, but this is amazing discussion. So you and I have, when we talk about ideal, when we talk about our life as a whole, I alluded to it earlier, guys, about this above the line or below the line mindset. If we're going to be below the line, which I am sometimes, not all the time, just like I'm not always above. Always and never are lie statements, because nobody's always and nobody's never. And we got to remember that when we're talking about ourselves. So if I hear myself making excuses, that's below the line. That's blame. Ultimately, I don't want to blame myself, so I have to blame something else, right? Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, if it's meant to be, it's going to be kind of a fatalism of it. That's that ultimate victim that just doesn't really want to take the chance, as Bob did. He risked the paper cut and bleeding to death, and he reached out, and he's had an amazing marriage from it. And,
that's beautiful.
And I can attest that she is amazing. With that, for us to be accountable is another choice. And that doesn't mean that we have to have all the answers. That means that we need to do what you said, Corey, step forward.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like from both of you is one thing. What's the one thing that someone can do right now, right, that will help make it easier for them to make that one step?
That one thing.
That's a tough question, I know.
It is. Great question, though. Great question, because a lot of people want to know, what's that one thing? And I guess right now, just based off of how this conversation came together, right? He's like, the one thing you can do is reach out to somebody, right? If you would have never reached out to me, we would have never been able to have this impactful conversation that, regardless of who's listening, it could help one person that can change their life, right?
Yeah. Butterfly effect.
Yes. Yeah. So if there's one thing that you can do, depending on where you're at in your life or what your goals are, what you're trying to do, is reach out to somebody. When I started my podcast, The Healthy Project, and I said, it'd be really cool to have a podcast. I said that for 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row, it was really cool to have a podcast. Never did it until I reached out to a friend of mine who was my very first guest, Matthew Moore, based out of New York. And I said, I think it'd be really cool to have a podcast. He was like, I'll be your first guest. And it's been going on ever since, because I reached out. He said yes. And because you just never know, right? And now, here I am, done multiple interviews with multiple people, and it's turned into something that I really, really enjoy. But it never would have happened if I didn't reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Well said. That
yeah. And that was one of your lessons earlier in this podcast or live stream was do it with somebody else. Find somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to accomplish stuff on your own. Pick somebody you want to. The other truth about that, just to support you, Corey, in your comment, is you'll be surprised about how people want to help. Like
Yes.
we look at people and we think, no, I'm never going to call that person because they're too famous, they're too rich, they're too busy, they're too attractive, whatever it is, right? I'm not any of those things, right? You have that picture. I've been shocked in my life to reach out to do those sorts of things and have people say, I'd love to help. Very few times I would say, we're talking less than 5% of the time people say no. And they only say no, not because they don't want to help. It's just that they're just too busy. Right. So it's not even a personal thing, but boy, there's great rewards for taking that risk and making that call and saying, I'd like your advice. Let's share your experience. What do you think about this or whatever it is?
Yeah. And I also think what makes that easier, in my opinion, is when they see that you're working, when they see that you're putting in that work, that yes is a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
100%.
know what I mean?
100%.
If they, when you reach out and you have, you put blood, sweat, and tears into something, people see that. They see that in how you present yourself and how you present online and what you're doing. And I think that makes it so much easier. That hard work really does pay off, right? It really does.
Well done. I love it. Reach out. Okay, Bob, your one thing.
Well, I was going to show you. It's a simple book, right? It's a book, but every day it's become a habit over the year. Every day I promise to do something for me, something, and there's the ideal form of life. Heath, we'll talk a bit more about that, but it's just the areas of your life. So in my finances, in my physical fitness, in my friendships, in my relationship with my wife, in my relationship with my kids, my quest for adventure, all those major areas of my life, I spend time planning something for those areas, making sure that I'm being intentional. It's part of the mindset thing. So 10, 15 minutes a day, I make sure that I'm writing something down in my journal, a dream, a quote, a thought, a crazy idea, right? Something that I'd like to do. And when you write it down, something happens physically in your brain. There's chemicals are released. And it just seems that it's almost a magical process. It's a miracle process where 10 years later, you're looking back and you're thinking, I had this crazy idea and what the heck? It's done.
Right.
I've done it.
I love it. So what I've heard is, Corey, the one thing is to reach out. Be vulnerable. That's a superpower. Yeah. Reach out. 2, write down your plan, right? From Bob. And actually set some time for yourself. Love on yourself, right? Because it's really everything, right? Because we can only give from what we have. It's such a big lesson that I had to learn, was that if you don't have intelligent selfishness, in the sense of what Bob said, that I'm going to block and put the big rocks into my glass first so that all the other stuff doesn't take up the space so I can't get it in.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, I'd say that one thing ties to both of them. That's embrace the resistance, right? It's not if, it's the facts of life. If you want your reality to change, resistance is attached to it. It's the tails to the heads, right? So we need to just step forward and embrace that resistance and know that it's a journey, that together we can. You're not alone. I'm not alone, right? And that, look at the power of today. I can see it already, a lifelong friend in you, Corey, the things that I think that we could collaborate on and do and help empower people, right?
Absolutely.
Not just because we have the answers. That's not the truth, but we can learn with them on the journey on what will work for them to create their map for it. So guys, I really want to thank you for this amazing hour. This has been just so powerful. I know we've really only touched the surface. And with your permission, Corey, I'm going to reach out again, and we're going to actually continue this dialogue and some other conversations that I know that we'll really have some great synergy on and be able to really impact people.
Absolutely. And I just want to say this was the fastest hour ever. So, there was some great value and great fun. So I really appreciate that this time.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And Bob, any last comment before I close things off?
No, just a very exciting, motivating, and inspiring gentleman. Thank you so much, Corey. A real privilege. I look forward to us sharing some recipes in the future, especially you sharing some of that barbecue recipe with me. I'd love to learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I can't really say anything more than that, man. Today was an absolutely amazing discussion on the power of our mindset. And if you want to learn more about the Uncommon Diabetic 4 Pillars of Health, then I want to invite you to start your journey with us. Because together we can create your map, a massive action plan to build the foundations to have an uncommon year and life starting now. It's your choice. Our UD solutions provide you with a revolutionary and science-based approach towards your diabetic health. Together we can. Make this year your year of transformation. So just click the link below to check out our free offers or visit us at uncommondiabetic.com. Also, remember to click the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss any episodes of UDTV. I really want to thank you for joining us today. I look forward to continuing our journey with you. And I wish you and your family a happy new year, full of energy, health, and performance. One last thing I forgot, Corey, and that is, where can people reach you?
Yeah. So, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So they can, obviously go to my website, thehealthyproject.co. Listen to the podcast and you'll learn more about what we're doing there. But at Corey Dion Lewis on all social media platforms, is reach out. And I would love to have a conversation and to help in any way I can.
Excellent. Well, guys, thanks again. And until next week, be uncommon.